Greetings and salutations. Thank you so much for joining me for another video. Ladies and gentlemen, it's week 7 and I have wide receivers in this video. I'm going over the top 35 options to give you all the information you need to hopefully dominate this weekend and go get a dub. Please do not forget, if you enjoy the video or have in the past, make sure you drop a like on this one and then please subscribe to the channel if you are not currently with us. We are getting extremely close to my goal of 500 subscribers. You can help be a part of that by clicking that button. Now let's hop into wide receiver rankings. We are going to start with one of my biggest wins of the season. Hopefully you listened to me and you were able to get on the train as well. It is Ja'Marr Chase leading us off. If you got him over the weekend and listened to me on my buy sell video, you were likely celebrating a fantasy dub courtesy of his extremely broad shoulders. He did not go anywhere, but he is still back. At number 2, I have Tyreek Hill. He gets a Pittsburgh matchup. He has 160 plus yards in half of the games that he's played this season, and he now gets Tua back. Even better, the matchup with Pittsburgh here is top shelf. No one allows more points per game to wideouts. Next up is Deebo Samuel. He gets the Chiefs. He has not really exploded as owners would have liked to this point, but he is still the overall wide receiver 10 on the year, and he doesn't have a single dud this season to his name. This game with Kansas City has shootout potential. They are a bottom 3 defense to the position, so there is a chance here that he bursts through the ceiling. To tier number 2, and at the top of it, is CeeDee Lamb. It's the first time for him in my top 5. The Lions allow over 31 points a game to the position. It looks like Dak Prescott is coming back as well. Lamb has been fine in his absence with Cooper Rush at the controls, but there is undoubtedly more upside with Prescott back. To 5, it is Mike Evans. He gets Carolina. He did not go off as I expected him to last week against that poor Steelers secondary, but he's going to have a great chance at rebounding here in a plus matchup with the Panthers. After he got just 4 targets last week, I think Tom makes a point to get him much more involved. Michael Pittman is my 6th ranked guy. He travels to Tennessee. He was able to get back on track last week. He put up a monster 13 reception on 16 target, 134 yard stat line. He could one-up himself this week. The Titans secondary is bottom 5 in passing touchdowns allowed, yards per completion, and points allowed to the position. He's in for a big one. At my 7th ranked spot is Davante Adams coming off of his bye. The only reason that the matchup here does not look good is that Houston's running defense is so extremely putrid that teams would just rather do that instead. Now, after a week off and all he heard about was the incident with him shoving that dude with the camera, I expect him to come back with a vengeance and put up a monster performance. No one is happier this week than Jaylen Waddle. He gets his best friend back in the fold, and I expect it to show immediately. Double-digit targets from Tua are of certainty, and in the 2 games that has happened for Waddle so far this year, he has 300 yards and a pair of scores. My 9th ranked player also starts my 3rd tier. It's DK Metcalf. He will likely get plenty of attention from JC Jackson in this game. However, that really hasn't been an issue. Jackson is not nearly as scary as he was last season. The Chargers are also allowing nearly 2 tutties through the air per game, so DK is going to roll. I have Mike Williams up next to round out my top 10. And week 6 was one to forget for him. The floor absolutely caved in on top of him for the 2nd time this season. And targets might be harder to come by as well because it looks like Keenan Allen is coming back. But I think there is plenty to go around this week against the Hawks, so he is worth the risk. My next man up at 11 is Chris Godwin against Carolina. He has yet to flourish, but he has shown steady improvement in every game since he's returned from injury. With Angry Tom throwing him passes, he's going to post his first wide receiver 1 finish of the season. Speaking of wide receiver ones, my last one in week 7 is Amon-Ra St. Brown, returning from injury and a bye. He's been so good this year that he had that missed game, had his bye, he played hurt in week number 5. And he still remains the wide receiver 20 on the season. He should be close to 100%, so there is no reason to doubt him. Courtland Sutton is next. He's at the top of tier 4. He also is hoping to forget week 6 as soon as possible. He caught just 2 balls for a paltry 14 yards against the Chargers. The Jets secondary is no joke, and Sauce Gardner is on fire. He is certainly not going to make it easy, but with how poor Jerry Jeudy has looked, Russ really doesn't have another option. He is going to feed Sutton all he can handle. At number 14, it is Tyler Lockett. I got a little bone to pick for him because for the first time all year, I gave him respect in my rankings, and what does he go and do but bomb for us? But I guess that is life, especially in fantasy world, so I am going to go back to the well and hope I don't get burned for a second straight week. T. Higgins gets Atlanta this week. He is another week healthier, and he did not re-aggravate that injury in week number 6. So that is the good news. The better news is that this Falcons team allows nearly 34 points per game to the position that is 6th most in the NFL. My Sweet 16 is Christian Kirk. He is not the smash play every single week that we possibly thought we had after the first 3 weeks. But he is still a wide receiver 1, and he wasn't drafted anywhere close to that, so we need to count our blessings with him. However, no one allows fewer points per game to the position, so we need to temper expectations against the Giants and hope for a tutty. Chris Olave is up next. He has been cleared for Thursday night's game, so insert him back into your lineups with confidence. Olave has finishes of wide receiver 6, 16, and 17 over his last 3 games, and with a ton of playmakers in New Orleans ailing, he will see a massive target share. At the top of tier 5, I have Amari Cooper. He has back-to-back games with 12 targets. He's put up 120 yards and scored in each game. While he is getting these looks, there is no reason to keep him on your bench. Diontae Johnson is possibly the hill that I die on, but I am riding DJ to the grave if that is what is necessary. He's received 7 targets or less in 2 out of the last 3 games, which is a troubling but not panic-worthy fact. Miami is bottom 10 in passing touchdowns, yards per completion, and passing yardage allowed. Just give the guy the ball and he will produce. My top 20 ends with DeAndre Hopkins. He is back after that 6-game suspension. I am not going to make an initial aggressive ranking on Nuke, though I probably should. But in reality, you do not have better options as a wide receiver 2. And after Hollywood went out with an injury, the upside for him is even bigger. To 21, it is Keenan Allen against the Hawks. He is trending in the right direction, and he may finally be returning from that hammy injury. It is always a risky play to play a guy, especially a little bit of an older one, that is coming back from a long layoff, but at this ranking, he is worth the risk. To the top of tier 6 is Brandin Aiyuk. He went full-on volcano mode against the Falcons, torching them for 83 yards and a pair of scores, and he stole all of Deebo's points, so I didn't exactly love it. After seeing just 8 targets total in weeks 5 and 6, it clearly paid off to give him 11 against Atlanta. Into 23, it is Allen Lazard, and I really do not want to chase the points here. I don't. I had him as a sell high last week, but he scored in 4 out of 5 games. Randall Cobb just went down, and now he gets a matchup with the freaking Commanders. So what the heck else am I supposed to do? Drake London is my last wide receiver 2. I'm going to take a breath and calm down. He is holding on to his wide receiver 2 ranking by his fingernails, and it does not get easier for him this week against the Bengals. They are a top 8 unit versus receivers. The Falcons are not going to be able to run in this game, though. I don't think there's any chance. So they're going to go to the air often, and Drake could get his 2nd game with double-digit targets on the season. To round out my top 25 is Scary Terry McLaurin. He's still looking for his first finish in the top 20, which is not great, but is unlikely to come this week against the Pack. They have dominated in the secondary all season. We just hope for the big play for him, and we live with the results. To the top of tier number 7, I have JuJu Smith-Schuster. He racked up 113 yards and scored, and he only had 5 targets last week after getting 8 in almost every single game prior to that, but he did distance himself from the other receivers in Kansas City. And if San Francisco can't get any healthier than they were last week, he is going to have plenty of upside in this one. Brandin Cooks is my next man. At number 27, he has bombed so far. In 2 out of the last 3, he failed to surpass even 25 measly yards in those games. However, Vegas could be the light at the end of the tunnel for him. They've allowed the 3rd most passing touchdowns and the 8th most passing yardage per game. On to number 28, it is Jakobi Meyers against the Bears. And I'm going to be completely honest, I would be much more excited about him if I knew that it was Bailey Zappi starting this week for New England. We do not know that, however, at least as of yet. So what we need to do is make sure you check back here on Saturday on my updated shorts. I do every single position, and it's going to have new information from what we learned on the week, and those rankings are going to reflect that. So for now, I will have him as a solid flex play who has been a top 21 receiver in 2 out of the last 3. Rondale Moore is up next. He will have an increased role, and he's already received 10 opportunities in each out of the last 2 games. I think he capitalizes on that. Moore was my favorite pickup of the week, so hopefully you were able to snag him. He is a good bet to make against the Saints. The last player in my top 30 and re-entering my rankings after what seems like forever is DJ Moore. It took a brutal bye week for Moore to get back in my good graces, and I still don't like him a whole lot, but his talent is enough to get him the seat at the table. The risk is very high with PJ Walker at the helm. At the top of tier 8, the last one I have is Romeo Doubs. I am buying the touchdown upside against a Washington squad that is giving up a pair a game through the air. Doubs also saw 9 targets last week if you need an extra push. At 32, I have Alec Pierce. If you listened to me and you picked him up last week on waivers, Pierce rewarded you with a solid performance. It was his 2nd straight as a wide receiver 2. He's also averaging over 7 targets per game in the last 3, so I will take that volume against the Titans. Next up is George Pickens against Miami. He fell flat after a pair of top 24 finishes, but the matchup here combined with the skills that he showcased makes him a viable option. To 34, and it is Jerry Jeudy. He looked pretty poor against the Chargers. I was expecting more out of him, but he does have 50 yards or more in 3 straight games, so if you need a decent floor, you could certainly do worse. The last wide receiver that I'm taking a look at is Michael Gallup against Detroit. Now, if I am throwing a dart, I would prefer not to, but if I have to make that decision, aiming that dart at the Detroit Lions secondary is always a good call. Gallup has gone from 3 targets to 5 to 7 since he returned from injury. Now, if he continues that trend and he gets 9 against Detroit, he will hit for you. And that is everything I got for you guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope some of this information is valuable to you and you can use it to crush your opponents and go get a dub in week number 7. Please consider hitting the like button for the video. That is greatly appreciated. If you haven't done it yet, please subscribe to the channel. Everyone helps. I am getting so close to my goal of 500 subscribers. You could do me a big favor by coming along for the ride. This is Relentless Press. I am your host, Abraham Opas, and I will see you